try to lose them in the dark. Colors bleed together, I can't run any faster. It will end before it starts. I'm up against a wall. How can it be growing taller? I'm high on adrenaline. I see the world burning in a vision. Hands up as you fall, don't know anything at all. Hands up as you fall, spinning faster. Hands up as you fall, don't know anything at all. Hands up as you fall, spinning faster. Feel it in my veins, no drugs can do the same. Blood in the wind. Is this what we created? Where have we started? Did I lose my mind? I'm up against a wall, on the edge, seconds till I fall. I'm high on adrenaline. I see the world burning from within. Hands up as you fall, don't know anything at all. Hands up as you fall, spinning faster. Hands up as you fall, don't know anything at all. Hands up as you fall, spinning faster. Hands up as we fall, don't know anything at all. Hands up as we fall, spinning faster. Hands up as we fall, don't know anything at all. Hands up as we fall, spinning faster. Left me in this mess, I'm falling. Never know. Can't find a reason why. Couldn't get any closer. Can't find a reason why. Couldn't get any closer. Can't find a reason why. We couldn't get any closer. We couldn't get any closer. We couldn't get any closer.
Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. We are heading along for the night here as we're gonna be moving on to the Prospect League here. We're same people back in the booth, just in a little different order, a little different setup here. We had to switch the streamer over, but we're back and ready to go. And oh boy, guys, it's the Prospect League. Things are getting spicy here. Speed, I'm gonna throw it to you first because the Prospect League it's getting interesting.
It is getting interesting. It's been my home for I want to say 5 out of my 7 seasons I've been in Nemesis. I tried to make the push to Chally, and I played 53 games the last night of MMR resubmissions Rocketman to try to hit Chally. I didn't hit it, but I don't think it would have mattered because I would have played that one game that got me over that threshold, and then you guys changed it anyways, and it probably would have sent me right back down. So I'm kind of glad I didn't end up hitting it, because I would have just got a little tease there and got sent back down. But yeah, Prospect League, I always think it's one of our spiciest leagues that we have. Consistently, we have teams making runs late. We have, playing teams winning grand finals. We have just a lot of crazy stuff happening. And the Prospect League always just comes down to the wire every season.
Yeah, it's always an interesting league, that is for sure. There's always some drama, there's always some spiciness in the prospect league. And Grebsy, it's what are you looking at here before we get things going? A lot of good names on the board, a lot of stuff here in the first round to keep an eye on. What are you looking forward to most right now?
A lot of known names on the board. That said, there are 21 out of 56 returning players, as far as I can tell from last season. So 21 are returning. 56 are, as far as I'm aware of, at least they were not playing last season. They might be older players coming back from there. But as far as the last season goes, it's more than half the players here are fresh and new. And there are some goated names here. And as Speedy said, you know, prospect is such this weird space of you're just good enough to get out of novice, but you're not quite good enough to go into challenger, and that's your low champ to your grand champ range. Is where we're fitting these people into, is like you're either a goat at rotating and reading plays, or you're a goat at your mechanics, and you're just trying to buff out your lower skill space at this point in time. And I think that's where prospect thrives, is you don't know what's going to happen. And that leaves everything open to who knows.
Yeah, definitely. You never know what's gonna happen here, and it is gonna be interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna get things rolling with putting Hypernova on the clock right here. Mello, I'm gonna throw it to you. What are you looking at here as we get the Prospect League draft officially underway?
Oh man, looking at Hypernova here, Hypernova only has Jaegers, which you're already starting at a good point here. Jaegers is an absolute beast. So starting with Jaegers, and you're getting a number one pick and a number five pick, you're getting an insane lineup before you even get out of the second round. Like, I have no doubt. Hypernova is absolutely, unless something surprising happens, Hypernova is going to have a very good season potentially. We're going to have to see, and I talk about it all the time. I very much harp on it. Even on prospect, chemistry is important. We're going to see how these guys do, and the pick is in Rockerman. Who is it?
Yeah, the pick is going to be Gallium off the board there. So Gallium, the first one heading over there. A good selection. A well-known Nemesis name. Gonna go number one overall speed.
Yeah, Gallium going number one overall. There's a little issues with this pick between DJ and I, and I traded up to get number one, and ended up having a conversation. I let Gallium go to DJD, um, at number one, so I here switched with DJD to go to number two, and I'm gonna take, in my opinion, the second best option that I have, who's a really good player himself, and I'm gonna take Hypnotic to fill out my roster.
Ooh, Hypnotic. And what were you looking for in Hypnotic as the selection for you comes in?
Yeah, obviously being a Chally drop down, having played in a higher level, that's obviously a plus. But I want someone that can really kind of be flashy, and Hypnotic can be that flashy player. As I'm really good, but I'm not a flashy player, right? I'm an all around player, so I want someone that can take um some of that spotlight and make teams focus on one player, right? And then, come in with our other two players and kind of hit them with the surprise of, oh, they can do stuff too.
All right, fair enough. Off the board, and yeah, Gallium Hypnotic, and coming up next on the board, Flurry. They're wasting no time, and we got professional players. Mallow coming off the board. Monkey Moon is going third overall to Flurry right there.
Yeah, we heard this name before, and and I believe he took a small break from the league. But Monkey Moon, an absolute goat, and I mean, hey, we're talking about Dan here. I at this point, I never questioned Dan. It's no glazing or anything like that. Like, I trust Dan because he has the Dan plan. He knows what he's doing. You've seen it in the past, like in the novice league and in Titan League with Blizzard and because you saw back to backs with that. So with the chips, so like there is absolutely no question about it. When it comes to Monkey Moon, there is something there. I may not be aware of it. Maybe you guys do, and that's why I'm going to pass it to you guys. But Monkey Moon, I've heard some good things about him. Sounds like a great pick.
I think that's a great pick. I don't know, Dan, if you think that's the real Monkey Moon or not.
Maybe it is. Who knows?
And if it is, then like the Dan plan is definitely in effect. But I hate to break it to you, Dan, that's probably not the real Monkey Moon. But I still hope he's
Is that
a
a
goat.
fear?
I
He's
still
scary.
hope he's the goat. But that fourth pick is in. The Blackhawks are gonna take Chad, which surprising but not surprising, right? Chad been around here for a while. Um, Everyone loves him. He's a great, team player. He can fill in a lot of different spots, so that doesn't surprise me. Just what surprised me is, he was uh, on the draft sheet, free agent list, bottom 2, bottom 3 MMR player. To see go that high is a little surprising in that aspect, but not in the aspect of who it is.
Yeah, no, that's a great pickup right there. Once you get these Nemesis veterans in here, you got some great solid people that you can pick up there. And another veteran off the board, Hypernova, you're gonna pick up Creed with their picks. So Hypernova, they were cooking something over there, Grebsy, trading for Jaegers and then getting these two top 5 picks, Gallium and Creed, and they have tried to set up a Thanos level threat in the Central Division.
Yeah, absolutely. These are both solid players, and I love my boy Gallium all the way. Even though he left us last season, we're not going to talk about that. He's back, and that's all that matters. And you set him up with Creed. The two of them are higher MMR for this league of prospect, and they can. The world is their oyster at this point in time. They can make things happen between the two of them. It doesn't really actually matter who their third is going further at this point in time. And it looked like Banshees is selecting this next one. Someone that I'm very familiar with, LeBerry as well. A very solid pickup by the Banshees for picking up LeBerry.
Yeah, LeBerry, Mallow, a great selection, and we've got some firing off names here. I think this is something we notice as we kind of move up the leagues. Mallow is we get a lot more known players flying off the board. Obviously, with the exception of Monkey Moon, all the top 6 there, or the rest of the top 6 there, well known Nemesis veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we continue here, um, you're looking at these picks, and I'll say just to start with, it goes back to what I was saying before. Chemistry's still going to be important, but Hypernova is looking extremely scary after that one pick there. But LeBerry going to the Banshees, and I'm not surprised at all because LeBerry is a fantastic player, solid player, and we are seeing our next pick come in for Velocity. And the players that we're seeing here are are known to Nemesis, and that's the beauty of the draft, is that you'll see them go to different places, and that's exactly where this next person is going, is to a different home.
And what do you think of that, Krebsy? That's your new teammate, buddy.
Hey, KSU Wildcats
That
off the board,
is
Grebsy.
absolutely my new teammate here, and I trust Jackson everything, and our ghost GM here, JD. Or JP, sorry. Oops. As far as that
JD.
goes,
You say JD?
yeah, JP. I don't know what you heard, but I said JP.
Uh-oh. He's off
This
the team.
entire time.
He's heading to
Yep.
Speed's Novice team already.
All I know is Jax is our voice, and we all support him no matter what happens. And this was part of our trade. We gave away our first round pick for prospect, and this is part of the plan.
Alrighty, part of the plan there. So they're gonna get themselves a little bit of a roster constructed here. Jax, Grebsy, and KSU Wildcats 14-13, still 1478 to work with, so can literally go all the way up to the top if they'd like. So a solid selection there, and looks like they're trying to build back a team out here in the Prospect League as the Minotaurs are on the clock now, looking to make their selection. But yeah, Speed, what do you make? I mean, like we mentioned, there's been a lot of fire picks here in the first round. A lot of people going in different places, and a lot of movement.
Yeah. Honestly, that Hypernova team, Gallium and Creed have been playing together. So that's looking pretty scary. You add in Jaegers to that mix. That's a really good 3-man rotation there. KSU going to play with Jackson Grebsy. I think that's exactly what they need. KSU is a very, very good mechanical player. And with Jackson Grebsy being really good supporting players, I think, they'll be able to support, KSU really well. And then, is it Chad going to play with Perky? They are kind of familiar with each other. I think this is just, so far the teams are shaping up really well, but not exactly how I expected.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting stuff that's happened. And speaking of interesting, Mr. Mealy and the Minotaurs taking their sweet time here. The time is ticking before they're going to run out of time and be sent to the end of the round. And they finally come through with their selection. It's going to be Soulless with their selection there. So they finally come through just in the nick of time there, Mallow, to pick up Soulless with their selection.
Yeah, that Solus. I'm not too sure if I recognize that name going off of my list here. Solus. Yeah. There's been a lot of influx of new people in the league right now, and so with the mix of the new rules with re-signings and stuff, where you can't basically re-sign your entire team and stuff. There's a lot of mixed bag things going on right now when it comes to people who pick up certain individuals, and that's great. I think personally for the league and overall, I think it's a great choice to be able to see all that, and to see Solus go here on the Minotaurs to go as the fourth person, which is pretty funny because they have 2 more picks that they're not going to be able to use here. But Solus coming in here is basically one of the top people. It's a Mealy. Maybe Mealy is looking on to something here. And as we say that, Street Soul, Deviation, and the Faded, they got their next pick.
Yeah, the next pick is going to come in, and that's Big Guth off the board there with that selection. And he's going to be heading over to Faded, trying to turn things around. A little bit of a lackluster 6-12 last season, but hey, if there's someone to pick up there, I like the name there, Grubsy. Big Guth from the Wyverns last season.
Yeah, I have in the past been a big fan of the Dragon Energy org in general. So anybody that they've ever had on their team is a friend of mine. It's probably been like 5 or 6 seasons. It's embarrassing at this point in time that I keep supporting them because I've not been a part of them in any capacity, but they taught me a lot, so that's why I feel that way. So Big Guth, as you say, what a name. How can you not go with Big Guth?
True, true. He's a solid player too. The Wyverns were very solid last season. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Speed or well, I
Mm-hmm.
guess Mallow, they made that run there, and they were a good team. Some might say they pushed it to the brink with the upset in the first round. He would make the semis. So and he was a big part of that for sure.
Yeah, you looking at the playoff runs. Oh man, I remember a lot of that and casting those. And Big Guth was definitely a big part of Faded's push there, right there at the end, and it was very exciting to watch. So good choice there by Faded to bring Guth on. Um, and with that being said, we got another very familiar name here going to the Bandits.
Yeah, Frosty gonna come off the board, and unfortunately, like Mela mentioned, it was one of those things. You only get 6 resigns, and I would have loved to keep Frosty around there on the Origin squad. We had to let him go, which I think it made a lot more strategy in the offseason. I'm sure Speed can attest. Trying to work down your 6 resigns. You only got 6 of them, so you got to make the best use of them. And it was tough, but unfortunately we had to let him go, and that's a solid player right there, a Nemesis veteran who's been around, and he's there. He's there if you need him. He's not the highest MMR on the board. In fact, he's one of the lower sub value MMRs, but he's solid, and he can get the job done there for sure.
Yeah, he really can. I was expecting you honestly, Rocker Man, to spend three resigns on your prospect team, to keep Frosty, you and Sweeney together. But I totally understand it. Like you said, the whole resign decision aspect is really hard, and I know we're talking about a whole nother league here when I bring this up, but if you kept three on that prospect team, and then you kind of have to keep the duo of Lucian and Thigh Chat together on your rival team, right? That's 5 out of your 6 right there. So, you know, having two other teams that you have to consider and think about too. It definitely made it hard. And, Frosty's one of those players where you release, and if you really wanted him back, like, hope he falls to one of your picks. Unfortunately, he gets snagged here by, Sands, who Sands loves stealing people from other GMs. That's a smart move by him right there, though. He knows Frosty well. Good pair up
San-
with Hayes, and I think that's the start of a good team, and it leaves them plenty of cap space left to go get two really high sales.
Sans loves his OG guys too, so that's the other thing.
Yeah, no, definitely, and yeah, a former sloth member, Frosty. He likes to, like you mentioned, he's Sans has brought many people in the league, which we greatly appreciate. Frosty, I believe, was one of them back with the sloths. So good to bring him in, and he's heading home. So good luck to Frosty. Wish him the best of luck this season. And yeah, as a couple other picks flew off the board here while we were talking about Frosty, Viper is going to go ahead and select Cognition, and the Gladiator is going to select King Koku off the board here. Grebsy, I'll throw it to you. What do you make of the last 2 picks? How the rosters are sitting here as Origin is now on the clock?
Now, good picks here, especially with King Goku. He's mid-level here, but he showed up to one of our tryouts. And Cognition, you're top of the MMR, number 8 actually. So just a good pick, in general. You're looking for your higher MMR players who can maybe help teach your teammates whatever they're missing to fill that void of their skill. Everyone has it, and as I've learned, even just becoming into prospect, is that it's such a finesse amount of skill to advance at this point in time. So just having that higher level MMR person who can give that advice to you or your team for what they're missing to advance is huge. So these are great picks overall for both teams.
Yeah, definitely some scary teams for sure. As Origin on the board here, we're on the clock, and we're gonna go ahead and bring back Hunzer with our selection. Yeah, me falling down in the prospect league, things are gonna get interesting. I already had Sweeney there, and Speed mentioned you can only have so many resigns. And Hunter came back through the draft there and had to pick him up. So Hunter and Sweeney, they were dynamic duo last season. Had Cream as the third there, and they were definitely a threat. So I'm excited to bring back one of my good friends there, Hunter. I've known each other for a long time, probably almost 10 years now. We've known each other. So we got some chemistry going on. Excited to see what me, him, and Sweeney can accomplish in the prospect league. So I'm definitely excited to see how things are going to go in the prospect league.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely
Rocker Man coming down to Prospect League though. Let's talk about that for a second. Huh? 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 Huh?
We
No,
did that.
but no, that Origin team, with Sweeney alone, I know Sweeney being in that org as long as I did, being in Genesis with Frosty and Sweeney and um oh shoot, mind is blanking out here. Air something or I don't know.
Air
Anyway,
Sweeney. Air Sweeney
not
was
not
good.
air not Air Sweeney. The
Oh, he's
God, I
losing
feel
it.
like yeah, I'm losing it,
That's all right.
dude. It's the old man brain. But anyway,
You're not
Origin
that old.
with Hunter coming down, Sweeney here, Rocker Man coming down. With that one, Origin's gonna look really good, but we got some more picks coming in. So, who is it? Who is it we got next, Rocker Man?
Yeah, we can move along. Melons are going to go ahead and select Ahmed, and then the Gladiators are coming back, and they're also making their selection with a guy named Ban this one too. So I don't know if that's a good. I don't know if it's a good sign for his health in the league. If he's already trying to get banned. I mean, that's that's not looking too hot right there. But yeah, that selection is going to come through. Next two selections there on that one, Grubsy.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't expecting to be called on this one. I know Ahmed. I know Ahmed. I played with him. I tried out with him, and then he advanced beyond me. So just to be in the league with Ahmed at this point in time, he's a great player. He's our top MMR who's available for this league. A huge player. All I know is that I was so far below him that I couldn't comprehend what he was doing personally at the time. I was a novice, so it is what it is. And then as you said, I know Is Barker. His name comes up in games. He no, he wasn't here last season. I don't know who I'm thinking of for Is Parker is, but I'm pretty sure he's been here in the past. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But the name is familiar to me, and he's a solid pick. Your middle level MMR for this league, and you can't be hurting by picking up someone who's just solidly in the middle of the league. They're a solid player. They belong here.
They're calling him awful in the chat. Is what they're saying. They're saying he's
Yeah,
awful.
apparently
His name is
that was
awful.
his
His
that
name is
that
awful,
was
not
name
him.
is he.
When
Yeah,
has Chad
yeah.
ever
It's
been
not.
correct?
That's true. Should we trust Chad? I don't know. I don't know. But
I don't know about chat, but yeah, no, I would definitely. I do remember that awful was is Parker. I think Ahmed and awful together is going to be very scary. That's two players with, insanely good mechs for the prospect league. Although we say that, but this prospect league just keeps getting better and better every season. It's why so many of us prospect players that have been here forever keep getting stuck in prospect because the amount of skill
The bar.
just keeps growing, and that bar just keeps raising for the boundaries. So you may be going up, but so is the that boundary for the prospect league.
that's true.
So I think those two are very scary, Ahmed and Parker together. Ban this one, I know from UR is a very solid pickup to go play with King Goku and Wolfie. Um, that's also going to be starting to look like a scary roster, and they still have room for 1440. Um, things are starting to really shape up here just after one round, and
Mhm.
in the prospect league, and the teams are starting to look really, really good.
Yeah, the teams are looking very good. As you might expect, like you mentioned, a lot of players in the prospect. We had a huge influx of players after the format to build up prospect, challenger, rival, titan. All those leagues just stacked up players. So there's a lot of good caliber of players here for sure here. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the first round. Mal, I'll throw it to you one more time before we switch over to round number two. Quick here, just give us a quick idea. What do you make of round one? Give us one thing that surprised you the most.
Uh, y- for me, honestly, I'm surprised Ahmed fell that far down. Ahmed is a very solid player. Um, I felt like he probably could have been at least top 10, maybe top 5. But I could also see the reason why some of the other teams did what they did, mainly because, it's either because of chemistry or they're already building a team that they know of that already works, which I kind of guess goes hand in hand with the chemistry. Because Gallium at number one, I'm not surprised. Hypernova, that's going to be a scary team to watch for this prospect season. We got, Velocity with KSU Wildcats. I think he is going to be a fantastic addition to that team. I'm very curious who they're going to pick here early in the second round. But um, yeah, the rest of this, I'm curious as how it's all going to work out. But Origin with you, Rockerman, at top. Uh, uh, I don't know. I think I don't know if you'll get humbled per se, but I think you might get surprised by some of the prospect players in this season because, like Speed said there, that boundary has raised as we've went on during these Nemesis seasons here.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. It will be interesting. I mean, there's kind of a reason I fell off a little bit. I don't know if it's necessarily skill. I think it's in-game time. I would like to say that at least. I mean, maybe it could be skill too. But but yeah, no, I think that'll be the big thing is yeah, there's a lot of obviously, you get a lot of players in these lower leagues that really can advance quick. We saw some people just shoot up in Nemesis. They shoot up from lower leagues to the higher leagues. So you got to watch out. There's always some people in here that are going to be challenger, maybe even rival plus level skill, and they'll improve during the season, and they'll show up throughout the season. So yeah, no, I think you're right here. It will be an interesting season to say the least, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. You never know until you play the games and get out on the pitch, which is always the most exciting part. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it goes.
I would like to add on to that, just like Nemesis in and of itself, the idea that you can have someone who can teach you how to get better at Rocket League. Rocket League is such a unique game. Like, there's no other game that your skills will ever translate to. And just having someone in Nemesis, once you join it, who can show you how to be better. For those of us who are younger than half my age,
Oh wow.
can they can take that and they can run with it. And that's why I love this league in general. Is that's always there for everyone.
Yeah, no, there's always room for improvement, and yeah, like you mentioned, there's a lot of room to learn, and I know a lot of teams and GMs will work with their higher league teams to help their lower league teams get better, and it's a great way to improve, which is always exciting. And yeah, I bet there's gonna be a lot of improving. There always is every season. We see people move up, and we'll definitely see some more of that this season. As yeah, the first pick of the second round comes in Sea Wink, a well-known Nemesis member off the board, and then Velocity. They're following quickly behind there with Camden RL with their selection. So Grebsy, I guess I'll throw it back to you one more time since you're on that team here. As Camden is going to be your new teammate over there.
Yeah, I think I'm allowed to talk about this now. So Cognition was supposed to be our pickup, but obviously that was taken from us by the Vipers. So we have now picked up Camden, and Camden, I mean, is a great player. So I'm not upset with this or instanced by this at all. He's a great pickup. I just know we had a plan. It just didn't involve the Vipers moving in on us at this point in time.
That happens though. Speed. That's a struggle of a GM
It
right
do.
there.
It do.
It's a huge struggle as a GM. Draft boards, you have to have, uh, especially when you get into these higher leagues and people knowing so many people and so many returning players, you have to have about uh, 12 extra picks ready to go.
That's true.
Um, and most of them, why you have to have 12 is because, you know, you initially have one guy planned, right? They get snagged, then you go to your next guy, but then your whole MMR boundaries change, right?
Mhm.
Your cap space changes, so then you can go a different route with your cap space, and so you always have to have so many guys on your draft board. Um, and it can really get hectic as you start getting into the middle of the second round and the third round playing these mind games with other GMs. But C-Wink and Camden, Camden's new to this league. I've played against Camden in other leagues. He has a lot of good mechs. He's definitely scary. um, and Sea Wink's been here forever. Our newest firefighter in Nemesis, saving cats out of trees one day at a time. That's my joke I like to tell him.
Go on.
But it looks like our next pick is going with Hypernova's going with Tripwire. And I like that pick for Hypernova. Tripwire, it's going to be a really good fourth man for them. That's someone that at that MMR at 1343. I would trust to fill in for anyone on my roster if one of the starters, couldn't make it. So I think that's a really solid pickup there by DJD to go along with Creed, Gallium, and Jaegers.
Yeah, another great pickup there, and then some more. Again, another known nemesis named the Chef going off the board there to Faded. So Faded looking to make another run there, picking up the Chef off the board, and the Warhawks. They're firing closely behind with Okasi Taka 34 is who they're going to end up selecting. So a couple picks on the board there, Mallow. Like I mentioned, a couple known names and some teams starting to get that team kind of lined up a little bit.
Okasi Taka 34 here. I don't know if they've necessarily have played in the league. Like I won't say they're new to the league, but I don't know if they've played in the league here. But here they are with the Warhawks in my own org, by the way, rounding
Yeah.
out the Warhawks the Warhawks team now, because the Warhawks are now full. They have no more. Well, they have one more pick, but it's not valid because they have already filled their team here. But their team, which we talked about Lucky before, this is a different Lucky on the Warhawks here. And, looking at this Warhawks team, it could potentially be pretty lethal here. It's pretty dependent on uh, how this new pick is. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they'll fit in. Like I said before, Rocker Band, the chemistry, it's important. So we'll see how that goes there. Um, Looking at all the other picks while we wait for the next pick here, which is, I believe, LK and the Banshees here.
Jarhead.
Um, oh, is it Jarhead?
Jarhead and the Banshees. The Vipers are
Yeah,
Vipers
yeah,
are
yeah.
also green. The green and black. They look the same.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, Jarhead with his pick here. Sorry, I saw LK pop up, and so that's why I
Hey,
said that. But anyway,
he's got a lot of championships under his belt, so I can understand. I think that's a good person to confuse Jarhead with.
yeah. So Jarhead's got a pick coming up, but looking at the team so far, we have a couple of teams filled out. Grebsy, what do you see so far that you were impressed with?
Well, all right. So we're just Jarhead has picked Drewski here going forward, so we're going to acknowledge that at the very least. What I'm surprised about, honestly, is you're seeing a lot of Nemesis uh, returning players or goats or however we you call them, with Esoteric or Stainless or Marino or Stumpy even, or Draco. Like that's in your top. That's in your top 1/3 of the MMR players. Maybe even like 1/4 of the MMR players. Like just the fact that they are still here surprises me. You got your Ruben Sandwich, which I love his name, and the man plays the game well as well. So it's like it's a good name, and he plays well. I just keep going down the list of like it's time here is still available. Brad McSnaprap is still available. Like your elite control elite even is still available. Like these are your classic Nemesis players whose names are mentioned, enough that you recognize them. And that's what surprises me more so than these players that I don't recognize. Whether or not someone knows something I don't, whether or not they recruited them into Nemesis, and they were hoping to pick them up themselves. It's these names that are staples that surprise me right now.
Yeah, there is a
Yeah,
couple
I'd
of
have to agree with that. But if you also look at the teams that aren't filled, right? Um, you look at Bandits, they on average can get two 1470s. Um, you know, um, Flurry, they can get, two 1360s, which all of these players are right around that range. So there's still plenty of combinations where a lot of these teams can still get these, Nemesis um, Nemesis veterans and fill out their rosters. But it is surprising to see not some of these not go so as soon. Um, you know, I was fortunate enough where I only had one pick to make on my prospect team. Um, so I wasn't able to help out much with that situation. But there's still plenty of roster spots left and cap space left to get multiple of these guys on the same team.
yeah, a lot of room to be had there, and we got a couple of picks just coming in firing here. These teams are ready to go here. You mentioned Drewski. Viper's going to go ahead and select X Draco. So there they are. They're right next to each other. Mallow, LK, and Jarhead right next to each other with the Banshees Vipers. Then Banshees again coming back with Stanless, able to kind of round out their roster right there.
Recommend there might be an issue with MMR caps
Yep, Draco does not
on
fit on
that pick.
Vipers. Would not leave them with Tierman.
Oh shoot. The Vipers are messing things up. Well, let's walk it back then a little bit.
Way to go, LK. But
Uh,
we'll talk about Jarhead's pick in the meantime. Drewski here, a new member to Nemesis. It appears. I don't think at least they don't have any stats from what we see last season here. So maybe they're a previous season member, but not from last season, or they didn't play. But Drewski, a member of the Banshees, right here.
Drewski gonna go off the board, and LK is gonna have to fit, and that's the one thing I think we see it. I think we see it a little bit here as you'll have to walk this back a little bit here. Yeah, Ember, we'll take you off the clock. Viper is back on the clock there, so Ember can hold off, and we'll just back it up a little bit here. But yeah, that's always interesting. I feel like speed it's a tough dynamic of the draft. You got to plan so you have enough room to grab that fourth MMR player.
Yeah, that is a huge aspect of it. And sometimes when you're just in draft mode and I want to get the players that my team that my players that are already on the team get the players that they want in the draft pool. Sometimes you just forget to say, oh yeah, will this actually work with the MMR? And I think that's one of the things that just happened with LK was, I know Cog, Temil, and Draco all know each other, have known each other for a while, and it's probably one of those things where Temil and Cog are like, oh, yo, let's get Draco. Hey, LK, get Draco, and LK's like, oh yeah, it's our pick, dude, Draco, right? Didn't even think about the MMR cap. He was gonna think about MMR and just get whoever he could get next. Um, So it does look like here that LK has made a pick, and he's gonna go with my old AGM, and he added an extra Y in his name, Brad McSnacky Rap. I believe it's just Brad McSnack Rap,
Yep, it
but
is.
you know, either way, Brad McSnap Rap, good pickup there. Again, kind of one of the same things where I would love to keep him on as an AGM. He did a lot of work for me last season. I also know he's a great player, and he deserves to start. And I wasn't 100% sure if that was going to happen on our roster that I was planning on trying to make this season. So I decided to let him go to the free agency, give him that chance to go try to be a starter elsewhere, and hopefully be an AGM elsewhere if there was room for him to be an AGM, because I know he's interested in that, and he's pretty good at it too. So, that's definitely a good pickup there by LK and the Vipers.
That
Yes,
just makes you a good GM, honestly.
respect. Yeah, give your
Yeah.
give the players a chance to grow instead of holding them around, and yeah, let them get a chance here, and we'll see if Jarhead is gonna stick with their original plan here. They originally had Stanless on the board, but looks like things are gonna change actually, and that is the drama of the draft. Is the Banshees are gonna come through, and they are gonna go ahead and select Draco off the board there. So he wasn't originally available, so maybe that was their original idea. But yeah, some spicy maneuvering right there as Draco goes off the board now to the Banshees.
Yeah, that is an interesting pick, and that's what you love to see as a commentator, as management, is being able to see people being able to fit that MMR cap, seeing those quick last minute changes that just throw everything out of the whack. Um, and I know both Speed and Rockerman here particularly can grab Z to a point. Since he's an AGM, he may or may not have his hands in the cookie jar when it comes to the draft. But you get all of this chaos when it comes to trying to draft someone snipes something from you, someone snipes someone from you, someone says, oh no, we can't actually fit them, and then you're like, oh wait a minute, I actually want them instead. And so there's chaos, and that's the beauty of the draft here, is that you're going to see things everywhere. Banshees have a pretty solid team here, ending it up with Draco, but we're going to continue on because Brendy has his first teammate right now.
Yeah, L7 Esoteric gonna fall off the board here. Another known Nemesis veteran here. Gonna fly off to Ember as they're trying to make their back-to-back dreams come true. So Brittany the Blade finding his first teammate there with Speed, and they're looking to go back to back. And they only had Brindy, but this is gonna be the first start for that Ember squad.
Yep, they're looking to go back to back. Um, this is huge for them to start getting rolling. It was unfortunate that what they had for draft picks and what they decided to do for retentions, and left Brindy by his lonesome self with not the greatest pick selection heading into the draft. I know he was looking and trying to make moves, but they weren't able to get quite as good picks as they were hoping for. But this is still a great pickup for Brindy. I mean, Brindy at 1406 is, we all know he is worth way more than a 1406. When it gets down to it in playoffs, we saw how he performed last season. Um, he just flips the switch. He just needs to make it to the postseason. Um, and then you add L7 to him. That is crazy. Crazy work right there, those two. So that's a great start. They do get another pick here coming up, and I think it's like 5 or 6 picks. Um, but for right now, we're waiting on Sands's pick, and Sands' pick came in, and he's gonna go with the highest MMR available currently, and he's gonna go with Stanless now. So Stanless is still gonna get off the board a couple picks later than initially we thought, but that's still a great pickup. I've played with Stanless before. I think Hayes and Stanless and Frosty, that's starting to look like a really a really good team. I think Stanless is going to be a great addition there for them.
Yeah, it's a solid pickup there for the Bandits. Is they're trying to work their magic down there. Hayes, Frosty, Stanless, and yeah, again, Stanless, someone you recognize, and yeah, you kind of see, like Speed mentioned, it's one of these things where players are getting taken off the board that you get a little snafu there, a little bit of a misplay. I think it goes to show obviously you don't want to see mistakes made, but Mallow, it gives us a little insight into what these GMs are thinking, and how much they know about these players and how closely these players are valued.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's based off of MMR, sometimes it's based off of what they've heard through the grapevine. It all depends how it goes, and it sounds like and Sands is one of those that, just like Dan here, they have a pretty good ear when it comes to 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 vibe players or to good players. It could be one or both as far as what that player is. And Stanley's here going to the Bandits with Hayes and Frosty. That's looking like a pretty good team so far.
It is looking interesting, interesting for sure. We'll see what he can do. The Bandits, they had a good solid season last season. Didn't quite have the postseason that they were looking for, but a solid regular season. It would make some stuff happen. So yeah, not too shabby. And like you mentioned, Sands, he's always cooking something up. That's the guy that he's around on the tryouts. He's around at seeing these players. He knows these names. He just involved. He's very involved, and that's what you like in a GM, to have that knowledge. And he's always making maneuvers, and we'll have to see what turns out with those Bandits here, as the Blackhawks are on the board here. And I think Krippist here really using up all of his time, knowing he's got back-to-back picks here, can use up the most on the first one, and then hopefully a quick second one. But yeah, Speed, what are you seeing on the board right now? Obviously, some good names, a lot of good names that we recognize, still on the board here for Kripp to possibly pick up.
Yeah, I know. Crip's out here, and he's got 2920 available left for MMR. So you're looking at 21460s essentially. Um, and it looks like he threw out one of his picks here. He's gonna go with Vex, go down to a 1359. He's currently typing, so we see who's gonna go with to round out his roster. I don't know much about Vex. I don't think Vex has been in Nemesis before. I don't recognize his name from any other leagues. Um, so I'm curious to see who Vex is, how he knows Vex. Um, and it looks like you're asking for a check to see if they're still in the
Yep.
Discord.
Looking
So
for looking for an
we've
ad
had
check.
that
There we
issue
go.
before, right?
Yep.
Um,
Thank you,
we've had that
Jax.
issue before where we go to draft someone and they have left the Discord, so that also nullifies, draft picks, and we've had to back up before, and that's created issues. But it looks like we got it there, and I did get confirmation here from Brindy. Vex is in UR. So thank you for that, Brindy. I appreciate that. So we'll see who Crypt decides to go with here. But Vex, not a name I'm familiar with, but I don't know if any of you other gentlemen are aware of who Vex is.
Yeah, I do not, but we have, for Crips's other choice here, we have a lot of known names, or at least, if you will, veterans of Nemesis here. Whether or not Crip can pick them or not. But we have Mr. Marino still on the map. We have Ruben Sandwich, who is a very good player. We have Redwater. We have Reckless, who came from. Uh, I don't know if that's the same Reckless as the one that came from Novice, because I know sometimes there can be very similar names. But we did have a Reckless in Novice last season. And then we have It's Time. He's there. I know Grebsy mentioned Control Alt Elite before. But right now, I think they did get to confirm Crip's pick here with the Vex. But we also have Wizzy. Wizzy came from the Wisps and he went non-playing for a brief time at the end of last season while he was a novice. He got moved up to prospect, and here he is in prospect at 1362. We also have Tragic Upset, which was another um, player who was very good. I don't know if he played last season too much. I'm trying to look up my stats right now. Uh, I think he did. He actually played about 17 games and he won 11 of them. So 11 for 17, and he's still on the board here. So there's still some very good players going on at the end of this second round here.
Yeah, there are. And finally off the board is going to come Kosh with the selection there. So Blackhawks going to find their one right there. So he was taking all his time, but wanted to make sure it got the right selection
Nah,
off the
he
board
knew
there.
the whole time. This is Perk's team. Perk knows people from every league. He was just toying with us. I know 100%. He wanted to
That
potentially
sounds about
flirt with
right.
the idea of getting sent to the
Yeah.
end of the round.
Yeah.
I know there about to be some hands thrown out. They were gonna have to send Grumpsy after him.
Oh,
Nobody sends Krebsy after anybody. I don't do
Oh,
that.
okay. I was making sure. You
send
never
send
know.
up send them after Finn.
S-
Send them after Finn.
Send the dogs
My
out.
cat. My cat. That's actually my
Yeah.
cat, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
worse than that. Yeah.
Send the
Yeah.
cat after him.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
don't get the picking soon, Grumpsy's cat. Better watch out.
Cat's gonna flip over and look at you.
Yeah.
Cat scratch fever, something, something, something.
Something.
Yeah, something like that.
You're old enough. You should know that song.
Oh, but yeah.
For copyright purposes, we will not sing the entire
Right,
thing.
right,
I
right,
think, I, think you
right,
can, I
right.
think you can sing. I think you can do acapella. You do a little acapella, and
I think you're allowed like 15 to 20 seconds
Yeah.
before you have to worry about copyright as well.
I think you're
So
good. We'll get a fact check on that. We'll hold Melody
Someone
on
in
it.
chat, please. Yeah. Dust on water, by
There
the
you
way.
go.
yeah, that's not
Smoke
even the
on
right
water.
song,
Smoke on water.
Mal.
That's smoke on water.
Smoke on the water. That's yeah. Now we're just really wow.
Yep. You guys you might be aging yourselves here on
I'm
stream.
quizzing you. I'm quizzing you.
Well,
I think
anyways,
every kid knows that song.
Kosh is going to come through, and then following up Wyverns. We'll carry on a little bit. And then Postman is off the board, heading to the Wyverns there. So selection, it's gonna come through, and we got a couple more people off the board there.
Yep, Postman. I know Postman from United Rogue as well. Really good pickup there to start Bondo's team. Um, you know, going with a familiarity to him. I'm just curious on what I don't know how many other picks Wyverns currently own in the prospect draft.
They still
Let me go
got
take a look at
three
this real
more.
quick.
That was their
They
first
still do-
selection all the way
They
here at
still
the end
have
of the
that
three
was
second
their
more,
round.
but their
first.
first selection here. So I'm hoping Bondo is able to get a good team put together here. But if not, I know he's willing to do whatever it takes once the season gets going with trades or whatnot to be able to really fine tune his team. But it looks like that next pick is in. Brindy, the reigning champ, is gonna pick his third player, and he's gonna go with 09 Cameron.
Selection coming in. I've never heard of this guy before, so I'm not sure too much about Mr. Cameron there. But the pick is gonna come through, and Ember again is trying to work something up. They're running it back, trying to get that championship back to back. And I don't know. Anyone have any thoughts on Ember right now or '09 Cameron?
I don't know if that's the Cam that I had last season and he signed up late. Because he wasn't on my roster to be able to make a resign decision on. So I don't know if he signed up late and that's the same Cam. It could be because that I know that Cam changes his name a lot. Um, every time I've seen him, his name's been something different. Um, so it could be, it may not be. If not, either way, he's a 1440 peak. So, he's got to be pretty good at the game. He's sitting right at that GC mark. So, That's a good pickup. I'm pretty sure for Brindy anyways. And, you know, that team's looking pretty scary. They got 3 1400s on their roster,
Oof.
which I don't think any other team has 3 1400s. They've all kind of split the MMR um, a little differently. So, you know, that right there tells you that they were really game planning, I think. And you know, as we're gonna have the next pick come off the board here for Flurry. Gonna go play with Monkey Moon, the GOAT, the legend, the famous pro, and Seawink, who's almost a famous pro. We're gonna have Skinny Legend.
Skinny Legend off the board. Another one there who we recognize. I remember that name. Mallow. I think we did some casting. I feel like we recognize Skinny Legend. I think he was novice last season. Was that the Gorgons last season? Or at some point?
Yeah. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure that was the Gorgons there. Yeah, Skinny Legend, a really good player there. Going up to prospect, going to the flurry. You know how the Dan plan is. He always has something going on. So he has seen something in Skinny Legend, which myself, um, I have seen good play from him. Very good player. Good to see him come up here from. Uh, Novice. We see it all the time. We see novice players move up. We see prospect players move up. Novice, obviously, a lot more because it's our lowest right now. But he's always been a solid player, solid gameplay mechanics and game sense wise. So I think with the flurry, he is going to make a fantastic addition to that team.
Yeah, solid pickup. And then Reckless is coming out off of the board at the end here. Going to go to the Melons. So Ahmed, Parker, and Reckless. See, they also, like Speed mentioned earlier, it wasn't to that point yet because Melons hadn't made their pick, but now they have 3 1400s on their team due to the Melons there. Still 1337 cap remaining. So Reckless, solid pickup there to kind of round out that 3-man roster. So a lot of teams looking pretty good here so far. We got quite a few teams that are all filled up, all four all the way, and there's a couple of teams that still need thirds, and it looks like thirds or fourths, and then we got the Wyverns who are kind of the the sole team I'm looking at. They still have 3 roster spots remaining, so they got some picks coming down the line. So yeah, pretty solid there. Grebsy, I do want to throw it to you before we switch into round number 3. What are you looking at? What are you looking at so far? Give us one thing about round 2 or about how the teams are looking right now that you're kind of like, that was pretty good. That was a pretty good, selection, or that was a pretty good team, at the moment.
They're all good selections overall, but I'm surprised that like we're still seeing our Marino here. Like he's a gentleman and a scholar as far as the league goes. Mr. Marino, even Stumpy himself, right below Marino, as far as MMR goes. Like they're great players, but they're still here. And I feel like I said it right off the bat with Ruben Sandwich. What a great name, and just what a great player. And you throw that into your going even further down. I'm just looking down the list. Time that I'm gonna recognize. I played with him a lot, and he's a goat. I hate to admit it because we've been kind of not rivals, but like like MMR teammates. Is how I'm gonna put this. Like Time's a great player. He's still not picked up. And Control Alt Elite. Yes, he's at the bottom, but he's such a solid player. Like there are so many players that are known within Nemesis League that are not picked up right now that I know personally, and I love them as people and I love them as players even. Let alone the fact that they're great people, just they're good players, but they're still here on the draft list.
Yeah, they are still there on the draft list, and it looks like we somehow found the Minotaurs. They don't actually exist though, so they're full up. But
Ripping pepperonis, the
I
Minotaurs.
just wanted to see Mealy type one more time. That's really what we were looking for there. So yeah, Minotaurs are actually full. So yeah, as we get into this third round, what you'll see is there are some teams that have their logos up there, but they do not have a pick to be made. That's because their team is already full. So a couple teams that are full here. So we will work our way down, and we will have the Melons back on the clock. So they're actually going to end up getting back-to-back selections here, and their pick is already going to come through. And I think this is someone we highlighted earlier. Tragic upset going to go off the board to the Melons there. So someone we mentioned and someone we were looking at is gonna fly right off the board.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took this long because tragic upset. 11 wins out of 17 games. Like you have a very high percentage winning person here going into the late part of this draft here. Granted, they may have been like a backup or something, but even as a backup, when you look at that winning percentage, like you're talking, depending how it goes, max of 5 games a series to 3 games a series. You're talking that they have won probably like 3 out of their 4, 3 out of their 5, or something like that. So there's been a lot of winning games from Tragic Upset, and he came from novice. I think the season before, not season 11, but season 10. And so we're seeing more draft picks come off the board here, but Tragic Upset, a very good pick.
Solid pick.
Are we getting a check on the last person here
Yeah,
that we got?
I was getting this a check because we were waiting on Ember to make their pick, and they're gonna select
Looks like we got it.
YZ2K. So it looks like we found him out there. So thank you, Brindy, for
Brinky,
the
Brindy doing mod work out
Yeah,
here.
he's finding
I know,
coming
right?
to the rescue to his own pick here.
Yeah,
Brendan's a
He
goat.
found the at.
Hey,
He's a
got
goat though.
Reminder
Brindy.
to you guys that are being free agents or draftees here. Keep your name close to what your actual in-game name
Please.
is or something,
Please.
because it helps out everyone involved. Not just
Please.
yourself, but it also helps out the streamer, the GMs, the AGMs, whoever is going to draft you. Keep
You have
your
general
name
stats
close.
throughout the league in general, like every game going forward.
Yeah. Oh, and it's also a rule, so we can go that
It-
route as
yes,
well.
it is a rule. It is a rule, but just in case you aren't aware as a new player, um, do keep your name in the Discord close to what you submitted as your in-game name is.
Yeah. So with that reminder off the board, we got something else off the board. It's gonna be Slate off the board to the Bandits there. Putting the Gladiators on the clock here for their selection. So another pick there. I believe he was, if I recall, decently high MMR there. Yeah, 1463 off the board of the Bandits. So Slate, Stanless, Hayes, and Frosty there. Grubsy gonna fill up that Bandit squad. The Sands Bar. He has completed his mission.
Sands has always had a plan. Technically, I'm here because of Sands within the league. I was never on his team, but I was recruited into Nemesis because of Sands, and he knows what he's about. Like, this man knows everyone, quite literally.
Yeah.
Everyone. So Sands does it, and you can't question it.
That's true. That's true. Sandsbar, he makes the moves, he makes them happen, and he's got something set up there. Trying to make some work in that division there, with Vipers, Rooks, and Warhawks. So, yeah, Speed. What do you make of your division competitors right now? Being the Rooks over there, what do you make of everyone with the Vipers, Bandits, and Warhawks? How are things looking right now?
I think divisions, looking to be really solid. I think it'll be really competitive having to play these teams twice. Um, I know Hayes. I've played with Hayes before, multiple times in different leagues. Obviously he was part of that Bandits team last year that played really, really well during the regular season. Unfortunate, circumstances there in the playoffs. But yeah, Ed Sanlis, another one of my teammates that I played with before, really solid. I don't know much about Slate, but then Frosty as a sub, that's definitely scary. Jet 40 and Lucky are going to be a really good dynamic duo here in Prospect. And I'm curious to see how Neons or Okasi, can fill in that third man role for them. And then the Vipers, LK always does what LK does. He's always super competitive. Um, Cog has had, many great seasons within Nemesis. They were, I don't know if they went 18-0 or if they flirted with it a couple seasons back. Temel's a really scary third man. Brad McSnack Rap obviously was my teammate in AGM last season, so nothing but high respect for all of them. So the the division is definitely shaping up really well, and definitely excited to have to play these teams twice, and hopefully, we come out on the better side of things.
It will be interesting for sure as the next selection is off the board. The Gladiators are going to go ahead and select Wizzy with their selection. And yeah, I was actually looking at that guy. He messaged me and said, Parker man, please draft me. And I was like, all right, if it comes to you, I got you. It did not come to me, unfortunately. But he found a home with the Gladiators, who were very good last season. I mean, they were good. They were all right last season. Only a little 18-0 action, something, some light. But yeah, Wizzy gonna head over there. So Foam, Wolfie and company are gonna be able to round out their roster. King Koku ban this one, Wolfie and Wizzy on the board there. So a solid team for the team trying to keep their regular season win streak going.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at, and those four right there, I think you could probably do any combination of those four, and I think they're going to do well. I don't like to harp on it a lot, but I mean it is actually true. Don't want to be one of those people that's like always repeating things all the time here. But, chemistry is a big thing. And I think a prospect is another league that is extremely important. I mean, it's important across all leagues, but with prospect here, gladiators with that team, I honestly believe any combination of that team would actually be a very good team to or a very scary team to play against here. So, um, uh, good for Wizzy here getting picked up. We still got a couple of more picks here overall. Uh, I think it's like what 5 or 6 maximum.
Yeah, we're down. We're down.
And
We're down to the wire right here. Two, four, six.
yeah,
6 left to go, Mr. Mallow.
yeah, yeah. And so we got a good number of players still on the free agent list here. That's very known here, and I think we just saw one come off the list here, and potentially another here. But the Wyverns, they have made their pick.
Yeah, the pick is going to come in. Wyvern's going to select Rum. And then Flurry, right off the bat, they're going to go ahead and select Ultimate Monk with their selection. So, going to round out round number 3 for us there on that one. So, solid couple selections. And yeah, Speed, there we're down the line here. And there's only a couple more players left on the board here as we look to round number 4.
Yeah, looking at MMR caps, you have 1396 left, Vipers have 1376 left. So if we just take those two teams right now, excluding Wyverns, because they can pretty much make a lot of moves any way they want, still having an average of 1450 left to pick with their last two picks. But under that, just under 1400 mark, it's time. Obviously, he's been in the league for a while. Control Elite been in the league for a while. They really stick out. I know Matt, 12130. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for about a year now. He's a really good, solid pickup. Really good player. The others I'm not familiar with personally. But then for the Wyverns, you look at it. They can pretty much go with anyone they want. Marino again was my teammate last year. Helped me change that 0-8 Rooks team around, end up making into the play-ins, and didn't have a favorable matchup having to play that Ember squad that made a huge run. But him, Stumpy, Carnage, Redwater, all really good. Top MMR players still left on the board to go.
Yeah, they're gonna slide through there, and yeah, they are gonna make their selection. And Speed, I'm pushing it back to you because that might be someone you know right there. Ruben
That is someone
Sandwich.
I know, Mr. Ruben Sandwich. I drafted Ruben last year. The team dynamic did not work. However, Ruben is a great player. The team dynamic didn't work like I thought it was going to work last season. I think it was game three. After game three, I ended up making an initial roster move where I let go of Ruben. Um, try to make some other changes, and it didn't work for the first half of the season. Like I said, we went 0-8. I tried everything I could until, I ended up making two moves at once where I ended up getting Cam and Marino, where we were able to, change things around. But, Ruben Sandwich, a really great player. He's going to go over the Wyverns. He's going to currently be their top sal, to go with Postman and Rum. And I think Ruben and Postman will, fit really well together. Rum, I don't know if he's going to be their third or their sub, but um, Rum, I think if it's the Rum I'm thinking of, is also another really good player for especially being that low MMR.
Yeah, definitely some solid pickups, some solid rosters. I mean, we're pretty much rounded out. We're down to the last three picks, including myself, as now I'm on the board and looking at our selection here. So, Mallow, I guess I'll throw it to you while I do some thinking. I got about 2 minutes to think. I'm trying to select the last player for Origin here.
Yeah, very very happy to see Ruben Sandwich come off the board here. I talked about it before. I know it's like a cliche with me at this point. It's all about chemistry, and like Speed said, it didn't work out for him in that org and that team, so it was unfortunate. But he's a very good player. I've played with him in other leagues for a very long time now, and he is a fantastic player, good guy all around. So good. I'm glad to see that he found a home with the Wyverns. I think he's going to be a staple on that team. I won't say he's like a franchise player because at this point, with the changes we've made with draft rules and such, um, you know, we made the changes to where there's only going to be like basically one or two people that potentially could be uh, a franchise player, but Ruben Sandwich regardless, is a very good player. Um, just like everyone else requires a certain amount of gameplay style from different people. Um, did a great job. Could do um, could do better. Unfortunately, it didn't work out last season. We'll see how it goes here. We have a lot more coming up here, though, as far as like who is still on the draft board. We still have Marino. We still have Stumpy, Carnage, Redwater, and we have um controlled all elite as very very fourth player here, or even could be a low third player. I'm not going to judge, but we still have a lot of good players on this draft board here. We still have Mr. Hot Ginger towards the top. We have Don Che,
Donche, yeah,
that
that sounds about
extra.
right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a tough one there,
yeah,
but
yeah. Number one on the draft board here. I don't think he's recognizable, at least on my end, but um, there's still a lot of players on this draft board that we could potentially see come off here, and
all of them.
I think, yeah, and I mean all of them, and with that being said, um, with both prospect and novice about to wrap up here, um, if you don't get picked, don't get discouraged. You will get called. It might take a couple of weeks. You might get called on the first week as an free agent sub, but do not get discouraged if you don't get picked up, because you will get reached out to, and that could be your opportunity to join a team. So, you know, for everyone that hasn't been picked so far, don't be discouraged. keep your head in the game. I promise you, you will get some action. Just because there's always the opportunity right now with timing and everything for certain games. They all may need someone in your league at a certain time. So with that being said, I think we do have our next pick here with the Vipers.
Yeah, a couple picks coming in. Didn't touch on my pick for Origin. It's time coming through. Recognizable name for me. I know Grebsy was calling him out a couple times there, so I went through and selected him
My
onto
boy.
our team there. Yeah, probably end up being the sub slot, but that's not a bad sub to have for sure. Great player there. Looking forward to having him on the roster for the upcoming season. And then Viper is going to come through and select Allen, which leaves us to the Wyverns. Like Melo mentioned, going to be making their final pick. They had all the MMR in the draft here. They could pick anybody. They had 1464, I believe, remaining. And their pick is going to come through. The last pick of the draft is going to be Stumpy with their selection. So Stumpy going off the board as the last and final pick there to round things out. So there we have it. The Prospect League draft in the books there with that final pick coming through. So a solid showing. And again, I'll just reiterate kind of what Mallow said is, yeah, don't be too discouraged if you didn't get picked here. There was a lot of people in the Prospect League. We had a lot of extra people, but just because people got drafted today doesn't mean they're going to be super active or the best fit. So be ready. Stay active in the Discord, on the Twitch stream. You know, like Mel said, there's a good chance you could get your name called. So yeah, just stay active. That's the number one thing. If you're active, you can sub into the free agent. You know, you can even just get onto a team right away from being active. So make sure you guys do that for sure. And with the draft concluding out here, let's go around the horn one more time before we wrap it up. Let's take a look at the teams. I want to hear who you guys are looking at. Who are some scary teams as we head into season 12 for the Prospect League? Mallow, I'll start with you. Who are you looking at? What do you think biggest winners and losers of the draft year?
Oh, you know what? Winners: Melons, Ember, Origin, Hypernova. Um,
Just claim all of them. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, all of them. Everyone's a winner.
uh,
That's all right.
outside of that, I'm not too sure how everything's going to work out because, like I've said before, it's all about chemistry. So even the ones that I just talked about might not work out. And, like Rockerman just said, you might get your calling card brought onto the table here, and you might get brought on to one of those quote unquote super teams that we thought was going to be a thing. I say we, but it's me. But you get that calling card there, and you're on the board, and you're on that team. And so those are the ones that I think, as far as on the negative side, I, I I never go on the negative side because I don't want to judge a team just because of lack of MMR or something, because
You don't know.
it could be a vibe
For sure.
team, or it could be a very well-oiled machine, like I talked about before with the chemistry. So I never want to say that. I never want to say something negative about a team there.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how things pan out, especially for the teams that might be more questionable, because we as casters don't always know what's going on there. The GMs, Rockerman, AGMs such as Grebsy, GMs such as Speed here, they know things that the casters may not. And so, you know, we may see one of those lower tier teams that we call lower tier, but they are by far the best team. So
Yeah,
we'll see how it pans out.
for sure, for sure. Speed. Who are you looking at right here in the Prospect League?
I mean, obviously, I got to send my rooks, right? You know, I got to send my rooks, right? I think, we're going to be very competitive. Now, if we go based off your original question of, who did well here in the draft, I only drafted one player. I think for what picks Bondo had for the Wyverns, he really made out really, really well. Not having a pick until late in the second round as your first pick, having no one retained on that team, his team still managed to look really, really scary here. But I think same thing as Novice. I think with the gap in an MMR here, with the total um, cap space that teams were allowed to have, it made for some really interesting and high MMR players being able to fit together. So I think there's honestly a lot of really, really good teams. Same thing, looking at Hypernova, have a lot of players that have played in the league before. We know that they can perform. You look at Origin, Rockman, you're a drop down from Chally. You've been there for many seasons now.
Washed.
You have
Whoa.
Sweeney, who's been two-time prospect MVP. I think it's two-time.
Yep.
It's time, who's just consistently grinded and grinded and is getting better at the game. Hunter, who's been in the league, we know he can perform. Little sandbag action with a 1353. You know it, I know it, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I could go through every single one of these
Washed.
teams and say something along the lines of what I just said for both of those teams. So I really think shaking out how this ended up shaking out. Every single one of these teams has a chance at the start of the season. I don't think there's really any one team that I'm going to look at and say that team's going to go 18-0, or that team's going to go 0-18. That's just, it's way too tight, way too close of a race, just based off of players and how things have shaped out so far.
Yeah, no, there are a very, very well-rounded prospect league. Grebsy, what have you been looking at? What are you keeping your eyes on in the prospect league?
There have been teams that have been mentioned already, so I'm not gonna harp on those. I'm going to just shout out my boy It's Time, who you have on your team. I mean, him and I have been playing together for Rocket League for 3-4 years plus, and we're here together, and we are opposites of why we're good at Rocket League. I'm gonna leave it at that. As far as positioning or technicality wise goes, we're opposites, but we both deserve to be where we are. With that said, I'm scared of Ember as a team. You got your Esoteric and your Brandy the Blade. Brandy's a great player. Everyone knows him. And you got your Banshees with just Draco and Drewski, and LeBerry honestly is a solid player. Every team that I look at has one at least minimum scary player. Actually, every team has two scary players. Now that I honestly look at it, and that's why I love prospecting, because you're in this mesh. You're in this melting pot of skill, of whether or not it's technical or whether or not it's positioning and reading ability. There's such a weird mesh of everything that it depends on what team does the best with, as Mallow said, mixing together the best.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. There's a lot of great players on all these teams, well rounded. I was looking at the Melons. No one really shouted them out too much, but that Melons team, the Melons and the Prospect they always pull something out. Usually that Origin and Melons have a good rivalry. I'm happy to finally be a part of that this season. Hopefully we can do some good things and make some things happen. But that's gonna be interesting as well on that list. I'm also curious to see how Faded's gonna do. I like the big Guth pickup there. Forest Bump, Chef, Street Soul. That's also an interesting team as well. So there are definitely some great teams. Excited with how things have gone here. Before we end off for the night, I got to give a quick shout out to our premium subscribers here. Thank you everyone for supporting Nemesis, all the subs from today. We appreciate the support, and also our Discord members as well, subscribing in Discord, especially our Challenger Plus, Flame Intruder, Jax, Wiggle, Cow, Neons, and Street Soul. Much love to all of you guys for supporting and keeping Nemesis running. We really do appreciate it. So thank you guys very much. But yeah, that is gonna wrap it up here for tonight. The stream is pretty much donezo for today, but we're not done yet. We got one more day tomorrow. Well, we're done for now, Grubsy. Yeah. I know you're like, wait a minute, what's he gonna say? But tomorrow we'll be back here for some more drafts. We got Challenger, Rival, and Titan. 3 more drafts on the board. So make sure you guys come back for that. It's going to be another fun night. A lot of players to be drafted. Challenger and Rival has they've got 8 million people in there. So who knows what's going to happen in
8
Rival.
million.
8 million of them. There's a lot of them out there that just kind of appeared. So it's going to be exciting. So make sure you guys come back for that. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. So make sure you guys stay active. And thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys later.